Hey, hello everybody, and welcome to the Happy Life Show.
Hello everyone.
My beautiful wife, Ahiranta, who is a fantastic cook. Anybody wants to employ her, she's good. She's fantastic at everything. Trust me on that.
Yeah.
And here I am.
And here is my wonderful husband, a little bit hit by the windmill sometimes.
Well, it was a coffee.
Ozay
I don't normally
Tulku.
drink coffee, but when I drink it, it seems to have an effect on this
Yes.
little brain of mine.
He becomes a bit wild. We had to drink coffee today because I'm going through a lesser period at the moment, and then the burning, the pain becomes so extreme that instead of taking painkillers, we use caffeine.
Coffee, yeah.
And so far it works.
It seems to work.
Yeah, and maybe you ask why I'm wearing this hat.
And I'm wearing this dicky bow.
It is the Queen's Jubilee, 70
good old
years
Queenie.
on the throne.
If the Queen's watching this is just for you.
Yes, she is actually.
I love you.
She's one of the fans of our channel. Yes, the
Yeah, she's
Queen
one of our
watches the
fans.
Happy Life Show. Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah. We've got the whole royal family watches this show,
I'm not sure the whole, but I do know the Queen.
except for Harry.
I'm not sure.
He watches rugby, and that's all right.
Anyway,
He watches
that's why
rugby.
we bought especially the hat and the shoes instead of wearing my normal boots. And before we start pouring the tea, look, I will hopefully keep it still so I can do a close-up. And this is the Queen's Jubilee. No, George, sorry. It's the coronation of King George VI
Yeah.
and the Queen Elizabeth
That was
May
1937.
37 coronation.
1937, wow.
Wow, this is 1937.
He abdicated, didn't he?
Yeah, so this is a cup from 1937 and it shows, is that Queen Elizabeth and King George the Sixth?
Maybe.
Anyway,
He abdicated, didn't he?
yeah, we bought this, and who did we think about when we bought this?
Queen.
Yes, and then who else?
Elizabeth.
Tammy!
Tammy!
Yay! So after this
Queen
filming,
Tammy.
I'm going to pack and wrap it up really well, and this is yours, Tammy. But for now, I will have a cup of tea outfit. So you have something to look forward to. A cup from 1937. Not bad for you, Tammy. Okay, darling. Nice
Okay,
cup of tea
Fill it.
before we start, because as we said, we are busy doing.
That's the coffee making my hands shake, look. It's not alcohol on it. We don't have wine till sometimes. Special occasions. You should be having wine, really. It's a special occasion.
Oh, well, we have wine next time.
Well, this is red. It's tea.
At least it's the right color.
It's the right colour.
Yeah. We're still in the process of recording the series of 6. This is going to be number 4.
I'm sorry I look like Winnie the Pooh with these trousers on, but my wife insisted.
I think he looks fabulous. Leave a comment. I think you're
Winnie
absolutely
the Pooh.
gorgeous. Handsome.
Yeah, I can't help that being handsome, but
And before we start with our next filming, we want to say, sorry we didn't record for a while.
yeah, I've been working on conservatory roof, and it just takes me ages because I'm so laid back. And I look at it and I make all kinds of excuses. What do they call that when you don't? Procrastination.
But it's more as well to do with we live Bob Marley retired, so there is no pressure. Plus, I went through a bit of a rough patch.
Yeah.
We did a little bit too much, and just way too tired to do the talks.
Yeah.
Huh? You too. You psychologically pick my tiredness up,
Yeah,
don't
we have
you?
to talk about that sometime too. But then, we see.
Okay, let's continue with talk number 4. I read it out to Ozay, so he's reminded what this talk is about. This is about death. Very positive subject on the coronation, but hey.
Oh yeah, everyone's predicting about Queen Elizabeth
Dying this year.
And they say like within the next, when a spouse dies, it's quite well known statistically that when we get to older age, that the one left behind normally, I don't like to say this really because it could be people.
Well, yeah, no, exactly. just
mind
leave it
you,
there.
your mum, you know, she's still here, isn't she? And she survived 3 years after. But that 3 years after your spouse had passed away, really
It's crucial.
critical. Yeah, sad really. And maybe our little show can help some people with grieving.
Yeah, if you have any questions about that, just please feel free to ask. But some people say there is no such thing as death anyway. This is what this talk is about. So even if somebody passes on, like your good friend Martin recently passed on.
Yeah, I can't believe that still.
Yeah, it's
Martin,
yeah. So we say we are the creators of our life, isn't it?
Yes.
And the same as death, another really interesting thing I think is sometimes I think about a certain subject without us talking, and you 5 minutes later, 2 minutes later, you bring that subject up. Is that thought you had coming from me, or did I pick you up even before you started talking? And that is...
And then the thing is, did it come from some other source again?
Yes.
Because we used to go out walking. May have mentioned this.
Yeah, that is okay. It is always overlapping. Yeah.
A group of us used to go walking, and me and Ahiranta would be discussing things because we have quite, because we are kind of isolated people, except for then when I used to walk on Saturdays. I would go there and they'd be talking the very same thing that we were talking about. And once that happens, coincidence maybe, twice it happens, every week it was happening. And they would, we would talk, well, I wouldn't make any cues to bring the conversation about, it would be some other source. So I like to sit and observe and analyse, this is the way my mind is because of my environment that I was brought up in. And of course I started to see this pattern that, and I would think, like, well, if they don't know that started here in this house with you and I, then how do I know that didn't also start somewhere else or come from some other source? So what it implies is that our thoughts are not our own, or may not be our own. How do we know? We think we used to talk and we would believe that those were our own thoughts coming uniquely from us as personas. And the fact is, that doesn't happen. So,
and what happens to the thought after we think it? Does it disappear forever, energy, or does it go into the universal source of wisdom?
Well, this all connects up to, if you look into the what is it, the Hindi, the Advaitas, and their belief system. Well, if you want, I don't like the idea.
No, but they might have a belief system.
I think the idea of belief system came in the modern era, since our science began. But I think that religion itself comes from an advanced society. Why do I say advanced society? There's a lot of proof for that. Because if you look at, for instance, out in Baalbek, for instance, just one building, and they got a stone there that, like stones, they moved around when they were supposed to be not using wheels yet, and that they only had copper or brass to chip away the stone. So you're talking, this big stone that they left in place, one of them, was 1,100 and so many tons in weight. And they were moving those things. We haven't got nothing that moves that today. So I would say that was an advanced society. And if you look at the religions, today, the religions that we have today are remnants of something that belonged to an advanced civilization a long time ago, and it broken up, and it became corrupted by all black, instinctive, we took over them and us.
As the animal instinct became stronger, our ego started becoming stronger. We became individuals instead of being a whole.
But I think all these religions were all one truth, one knowledge. And I think that India, they broke off, they called their path, and I think all the paths were all leading to the same place. And they called it Vedic, we called it Christianity. Christianity is not unique. It came from a long time ago, and during the time of the pharaohs, they can trace the Christian teachings, and there was somebody like Jesus apparently from before Jesus Christ. So he was never. If you look into history, of course, if you go into a church and put this to the devotees of Jesus Christ, they will argue against it because it turns upside down their whole belief system. And like I said, for me, the idea of a belief system, belief is a shot in the dark. You don't know if what you believe is true. And if what you believe is found not to be true, then it undermines your whole house that you built yourself as, your persona, your ideals of the world. So it's, how do you say, when you find something out like that you've built your whole self upon, your ego self, and then one day you find out it's not true, which is what a lot of Christians have done through taking on belief, then it can undermine, it's a breakdown, and then you go, to a point where it's make or break. And I think we all need to get there sometimes in order to become like a child, as Jesus said, you lose everything, you lose yourself in order to win back yourself, the real self.
And how does that relate to that there is no such thing as death, so nothing dies? Everything we create, so even a thought or a feeling, it exists forever, and others will pick up and think it's their own. So that has all to do with death, isn't it? An ending.
We brought it to a thought, may not be your thought.
Mm-hmm.
What is a thought?
Mm.
In Vedic tradition, they think that every thought is a spirit. Every thought is a spirit. And therefore, we've broken off from the great spirit, the universal spirit, and we become a bunch of thoughts, ego.
Yeah, a form in a human form.
Yeah, like a cell, you know a cell, it starts off with one cell and then it'll split up, multiply,
yeah.
and then each cell that's joined together replicates the original cell. And so therefore that's the God aspect of us. But yet we are here in an instinctive body, we are soul and body. Therefore we require an ego in order to communicate for survival for these bodies. And therefore we create, what would you call it? An animal, or an amoeba is the first cell, the original cell. And but we've put all these cells together and become one thing, although there's many things in that one cell. And in the same way as our cells do that, then so do our ego. As we grow up, we look at a movie star or a hero or whatever, and we choose to take that on board, and it becomes part of our cell collection or conglomerate again. You asked me about that word.
Yeah, I love that word.
Conglomerate of...
I can't say it though.
Yeah, of thoughts. No, not thoughts, beliefs or whatever.
Ideas, yeah.
Yeah, we identify two memories of what we consider us to be. Therefore, we can change it anytime we want to, although because we choose to believe this is who we are, then we are not going to be so willing to let go of what we've chosen to be as a persona. And therefore, that conglomerate becomes a spirit. When the body dies, it's like something like about 40% of Americans, I read recently, believe that there's such a thing as ghosts. And I don't say that there's just ghosts, personally. There's ghosts and a soul. And the soul is the life giver. And then we come into the body, we have a mind, and we create another spirit. And I think that the spirit can fall back away again, or it can become another soul. And that would be in comparison to everything that ever lives or is ever given life. A tree grows, it produces seeds, it falls away, the seeds fall into the ground, some of them grow, some of them don't, just like a spirit. And then each seed got an opportunity to become in a tree. some of them fall over and don't make it, some of them become some trees, some souls. And it's the same, everything principally works the same in the whole universe. Well, in this universe of ours here. And that's what I consider to be the answer to that question.
Yeah, so that is how evolution happens, isn't it? That we, our grandchildren or our offspring, no matter how many generations away, they are still able to pick up thoughts that we have created in this life.
Yeah.
And nobody really thinks about where the thought comes from. They think that they created that themselves, but they might they are still in contact with their ancestors.
Everything
the Aboriginals are very aware of that, aren't they? They worship their ancestors and they know the power of
Spirit.
what they have done before and how that will influence them and help them forward by worshipping their ancestors.
Yeah.
And here in the West we have lost that a bit, isn't it? The younger generation has become very ego-centered and become arrogant in that because they think they know better than the older generation.
We all did that though.
Yes, but the younger generation, when we were younger, we did the same thing.
Yeah, we did.
And older people, what do they know? This is a different time. No, in principle, the truth is not changed through time, isn't it? Because that's why we try to talk about death, not only the physical death, but there is no thing as death. It is like a recycle. I see a tumble dryer. It goes round and round. All the things coming into existence are permanently into existence. They can change form, but energy is never lost, and therefore there cannot be such a thing as death. It's like taking your clothes off. This body falls away, ashes to ashes, but the energy within my body, the spirit, my soul, continues to live on.
Well, we spoke about Tulkus and we spoke about psychometry and how, for instance, we did that experiment in the circle where we had was it a ring? It was something, or a bracelet.
We had different objects.
It was like 300 or 400 years old. And we were still able to read. We didn't know nothing about the owner of that bracelet. We didn't know nothing about the owner of the bracelet. And each person picked something up from this bracelet. And okay, not everybody was correct. But we don't know that really for sure.
Exactly.
But, I mean,
not everything is known, is it?
If there was like 1 out of 10 was right, well, that's a bit strange. But we had something like 4 to 6 out of 10 shots were proven to be correct to the owner.
In that moment of time, yeah.
And, so for me, there's no question that there is something that emanates from us human beings that can be projected into other things around us.
We are not a closed unit. We think we stop by our skin. But there's a whole energy field that emanates from us, and we are not separate from the energy around us. And also, they now come to see finally that what we see is colored by how we have built our mind. So if two people look at the same thing, they will see slightly different things, plus they change the object just by looking at it. That is a really interesting thing. So there is an end in principle of the physical system, because that has an expiry date. Depending on how we take care of ourselves, we need to. It's like going to a shop and buy a new dress or a new suit. But we, as an entity, maybe we can call that
energy source.
Yeah, God. Energy is never lost.
Well, I like the idea of God because and I know again this is stepping on the corns of many
certain people,
deeply religious believers and all that. But I think personally, the knowledge went to the Christians, those early Christians, and they knew more than what we know today about this belief system. And the belief, you know, you'll see, if I write on Facebook, you've got one part of me that's totally against belief, and another part that sounds contradictory is for belief. But there's a distinction between the beliefs that I consider, and that is, someone at some time in history got hold of the people and gave them a belief. And for some reason the people were they naive? I'm not sure in the original belief that was given out. And they knew the power of accumulated people together creating a something from belief. If I say, we're two, like using one, Jesus said, where two or three meet or gather in my name,
more than one, where two meet.
Gather in my name, there shall I be. And the reason for that is because everybody is in expectancy and they believe because Jesus said it, and Jesus was the Son of God. And that's powerful, that is. If a human being have a total faith and a belief, and whoever it was that created the Christian system knew about these things, and they say Jesus never, there's no proof of Jesus ever existing as a historical person. That's what some schools of thought say. For me, I'm not really concerned about that, but what is the most beneficial and important thing to look at is the science behind it, and that is a belief in a scientific sense. And they say, that's not science, that's hocus pocus. No, it's not. Science is just behind. There's a lot of us who know that the power of belief or psychometry or telepathy or soul or spirit exist. And some of us, like the occult, they created demons, they created spirits that worked for them and things like that. So we know that there is a power that possesses us, and in the early days they used it, and they all made those people focus that power on one object. Therefore, if I ask in Jesus' name, it will be granted. And those people that had total faith, they could ask for anything and it would be granted because they had total faith. But unfortunately, because science came along, they put doubt in everybody's mind. And I think science stands for the apostle called Thomas. And Thomas, he didn't, he saw a guy there, and I don't believe that's Jesus. So he lost his belief. But he needed to have something to prove to him that Jesus was alive and Jesus did come back and that there was a power of resurrection. And I'm not a Christian, but I understand.
But you know the Bible?
Yeah.
Because you studied it when you was in prison.
Yeah, when I was in prison, I used it, but alongside very deep meditation and the kind of meditation that they speak about in the Far East, like in Buddhism and Hinduism and all that kind of stuff. And I only found that out later. But anyway, they put this belief into an entity, and there was, it would, if you had that faith, then you only had to ask Jesus Christ, the Holy One, the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost, and he would grant you whatever you asked. And
you
that
could
power,
materialize.
Yeah, and for me, that is a science of your inner, what did they call it when you mix in the early days? Alchemy. Your inner alchemy can be arranged in such a way that it can put these things together inside you, and then you've got a potent power that creates magic. And I think that if you look at the hieroglyphs and the old Greek stories, these stories weren't just stories, they were designed to create that inner alchemy. And if you look at the story, there's things going on inside of you. There's these feelings are being evoked, and then they are coming together. And then if you're in a certain way after meditation, you know that there's you witness certain city happenings, like reading minds or seeing things where you shouldn't be seeing it, remote viewing, and all these things start happening when you go into that pure state. So it's and there's always about, like, for instance, Jason the Argonauts. And Jason is on a journey, and he has to find the golden fleece. What is the golden fleece? No such thing in reality as a golden fleece. But in order to get to this golden fleece, he has to overcome these obstacles. And all of these obstacles are the obstacles that we have within. And each one of them is symbolic of a certain kind of inner state that we have to overcome in order to reach the high state of the golden fleece, i.e. 1, 2, 3 chakras, they call. A lot of people understand them as chakras today.
Yeah, it depends what culture we come from,
Yeah.
isn't it? We grew up in the
7.
West, where Christianity is the dominant religious stream. But what you just said about how we can manifest whatever we set our mind to, our belief to. We often say to each other that when you go outside and you come across a shop attendant, for example, the way you project yourself upon that shop attendant will be reflected back. If you walk down the street, and only do it where it's safe, of course, because there are disturbed people around, and you smile, you approach somebody because you have to ask something or you need something, and you ask them with a smile, just look how often they smile back without them knowing. Maybe in the big city they're a little bit wary and think, what the hell do you want?
Yeah.
But and children, it absolutely works on children. If you look at a child, you smile at it, often the smile is reflected back. And the same thing happens when you think the whole world is against you. Your energy field becomes in such a way that you get, that is then manifested. You will come across that because what you focus on becomes a reality.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry,
and
what
I
did you
think
want
that,
to?
No, sorry, I wanted to investigate that a bit more deeply and relate it to what we've been talking. So, when you project a smile, what you're doing in that other person, you're bringing things up, alchemy again.
Yeah.
And then you're creating an energy. And that's what we do all the time. That's what hypnotists does. That's what we do when we read a romantic novel or watch a romantic film or even war films. And that's why I never really agree with a lot of stuff they put on. And because, for instance, the news is terrible. And what it does inside of people, if you consider what I'm going to speak about one day, and that is that how we are, how we feel, has an effect on our planet, even the weather. A long time ago, they thought, they knew the science. That's what I think they went back, because we think that ring dancing from those Native American Indians is all hocus pocus rubbish, and you can die, ridiculous. But I think if you went back a long way in time, there were, I think, the Aborigines as well. Did they believe they could control the weather?
Oh, I don't know.
Ring dances and stuff like that. Anyway, some of you, I'm sure, will probably have examples of where human intervention could change the weather. And I think that, well, human beings can have an effect on the planet. And let's say, like the experiment we spoke about, they carried out in America from, was it Stanford or somewhere like that? And they discovered that by sending 1% of a town's population meditators, if they took the amount of people that was 1% of the town, that they found in every town those guys meditated in, 1% of the population, it would affect the crime rate in that town.
It would lower, huh?
Yeah, so now you consider what they are doing on the news. They are always using, they're always making people feel worried. They're always making people feel anxious. And they're always whipping up hysteria.
Fear.
Yeah, and what's that going to do, until they can discover, what some of us have known for a long time. Science is far beyond mystics and sages. And I mean, if you think that mystics and sages are not in front, well, go and look at what's going on in India. You go and look at these people who can change their heart rate, they can change their breath rate. Go and look there, because science cannot explain that. a scientist is there to discover the truth. Okay, if I'm a scientist and I say, oh right, I've just discovered a guy who can get buried under the ground for 6 months without any air, and we can dig him back up again and he's still alive. All right, I know that, I'm a scientist. Okay, no, you don't know that. You don't know what he's doing inside of him. You don't know how he's mastering his internal organs. You don't know what he's using, what the mechanisms are. You don't know nothing. And just like us people who can use telepathy, can use remote viewing and various other things like that, you can witness it, but if you're a scientist, you can witness it, but according to you, because you can't bottle it or measure it or weigh it, then it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Even though you can see it. You're a scientist, you see a ghost, and I'm sure there's many scientists out there who've seen ghosts and know ghosts exist, but are too scared to do a study on it.
For their reputation.
Yeah, because they don't get funded, because it's hocus pocus.
Yeah,
and
they
it's
lose their
funds.
reputation. Yeah, it is hopefully, there's a slight change coming, isn't it? We notice that there is more people who become more aware and start thinking for themselves instead of just blindly believing what they are dished out by many media sources. So I think that's a good sign.
Well, the power doesn't lie in the nuclear weapons or in the United States of America. The power is in the people.
Yeah.
And when people start discovering their own abilities, their own power, then this world will change completely.
For the good, eh?
Yeah.
Because of course people can also use it for their own selfish, like Aleister Crowley is well known to summon demons up, because that's where probably his, I'm just guessing, I never met the man, his interest lie. But when you want to materialize something, it has to be for the common good, mostly. Because if you want to feed your ego, it only has, it still works, but it's only limited. And if I may go back to the belief that before the belief systems existed, people believed in, they knew that there was nature spirits, and they, when the time came that some people became able to read scriptures, the scriptures was only a small amount of people who were able to read, so they started using belief as a control mechanism.
Yeah.
And in a way the media is still doing that.
They took control of it too. The leaders took control of that energy that each and every person, if you can get them all together, and they've done a good job of it, and give them a belief system, and we can control that energy of these people who we call Christians, but we are actually spamming them with where that energy is
Sadly
going.
enough, it is used against humanity. But if you walk into a church, you feel the energy that has been building in there by genuine worshippers, genuine
How many of you,
worshippers.
we know when we go in a church that I sense it straight away. As soon as I sense in a place where there's, unwholesome things go on, I don't like to think that I'm any different than anyone else. Maybe sometimes I don't sense those things that I should sense, but sometimes I know I have sensed something, and only to find out sometime later that it was absolutely a correct sensing. So is there any people out there who pick up on those kind of things like we do? And I'm not asking, that you do it all the time. Only maybe once in a blue moon or once every...
Or maybe be
do other
regular.
people get that, or is it just us two?
We would love to hear from people who also came to see that they were sensing things. When Ozay talks about that, two things come to mind for me. One is we went for a walk somewhere just to sit by the beach, and we parked. We had to walk a little bit, and he said something is not right here, and there was no other people to start with. Something is out here, he said, something is out. And another thing is when we bought our place in Sweden, derelict, Ozay went to check it out first because I was bedbound completely bedbound in those
And when
days.
we went there, he was still bedbound.
Yes, and he flew out and checked it out. And once he found the house, he said, it's just a strong sexual energy in there. He picked that up. And later on, both things were proven. In the woods where we were later told that that was a place where people come together for dogging. If you don't know what that is, just please look it up.
Yeah.
Dogging. We were told to look it up by Jane's mom, Joan. When she was in her 80s, she said, "Have you never heard of dogging?" And she was laughing, and we had no clue what it was. Now we do. And in the house in Sweden, the house is in the middle of the forest, but there is a village 15 kilometers away, and the locals told us that the lumberjacks would take women there and had their manhood pleasured. So and there's only two little examples how you can pick up the energy. For example, another example, if I may, is when I came into this house for the first time. Ozay lived here very happily with his late wife Kay, who sadly passed away of cancer. But when I entered this house for the first time, I felt the energy in the house. How happy, a really uplifting, happy energy. Sadness that she had passed away, but that was not in the walls. It was uplifting and welcoming, and another thing in the house as well. Oh, and if I may, two more. When we bought the house in Sweden, when I was finally transported in a special manner to the house and entered, we had to purify the air of the house. I took special things to purify the energy in the house. And the house welcomed us. There was a real strong energy coming from the house itself. And the opposite I've also experienced. Once I helped a colleague of mine, and I entered the house, and there was such a horrible energy in the house. Fear and anger and aggression, and I didn't know anything about what had taken place, but when I brought that up later on, somebody told me, the man who lived in the house had taken a knife and cut himself and the personal possessions of the woman in the house. Really, really sad. He ended up in psychiatric care. But you pick that up the moment you walk in. And so that brings us full circle then about death. Nothing dies. Once an energy is created, it emanates and penetrates its environment. And so, it's the same with human beings.
And we have to be aware. Aware is the key word here. Aware how we can be walking down the road, see something, and then it can work like subconsciously, or it can work consciously, whichever you want to call it. And then you come home and, like for instance, we dream of everything that we have felt and, talked about and did through the day. So our dreams is like a video replaying the day and a feeling, symbolic feelings, pictures. The pictures are symbolic of feelings that we felt through the day. And what are those feelings that's replaying, this energy? And if I want to be a somebody, then I really like being that person that I just saw, like children do. And they keep rehearsing all the time in play. They rehearse Batman, rehearse that scene, rehearse that scene, rehearse that scene, becomes memory. And then that memory becomes part of your persona. And then that is spirit. That becomes spirit, it's ego. And therefore, you've given birth. You've given birth to a new entity. And that entity is within the body, but the body is not all that there is. Unfortunately, this is a game. We come here, or should I call it a game? well, that's what you read, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not really a game, but it's important work. Like going to school is important for our souls to grow. And through this experience here in these instinctive bodies, our souls develop into a bigger expanse when we move away from the body.
But game in itself is a good word, really, because then we tend to take it a little bit lighter. We tend to take life too serious.
Yeah.
And that brings with it control when we try to make it serious. But if you become playful and see that life is just a phase we go through, then that brings with itself a lighter energy.
Yeah. But you know, what I think about that is, good idea. But remember, it's an idea.
Yeah.
And that's why I say the awareness. And so...
Yeah, they are just tools, eh?
Yeah.
If you consider it a game, it is just a tool until you have grown or expand your awareness, or maybe we are complete awareness, but the awareness is a fail over because of what the ego brings.
Well, first of all, to develop awareness is to develop an attitude where you begin to observe what's coming through and what's going in and what's going out. So as soon as you can start developing that awareness of what's coming in and what's going out, you can start looking at what's going in and what's going out and like, ooh, that's not good. Because I remember it's bad to be, what did you just say? It's bad to not be free and to be happy. And what causes this unhappiness is this bunch of thoughts here that I've been identifying with. They keep recurring, and they don't have pleasant outcomes in my dream either. So my dream is also...
It's not beneficial.
Yeah, so therefore, I become aware and I know that this is unbeneficial. Therefore, I can stop that from happening. Only if I'm aware, but the body battles for instinct, and it's a pleasure-seeking device, this thing. And often it seeks pleasure in those things which, when are not satisfying for you, when you don't achieve that pleasure-giving subject or whatever, then when you don't get it, it becomes pain. So pleasure, pain, pleasure, pain, pleasure, pain. And that's constantly going on, duality. In breath, out breath. Remember we spoke about that. And you have to remember it's the law of three is what we are looking at. And to remember with awareness, we need basic things to return to in a day. And what is the basic things? Is our breath, in and out. Feel better. You know, you don't feel very nice when you have those bad thoughts and anxiety, stress or whatever. So what are you really with? You're with this. And what can free you from this is the breathing and the empty place that can take you to, and then peace. And that's the third law. The dual thing is battling all the time, and then the third point is looking at those two dualities from there, and that's awareness and peace.
Your triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and every situation, if you start looking, has a triangle.
Yeah.
Because duality is always two, and then you have the ultimate.
Yeah. I think we better stop.
Yeah, I think we have covered what we wanted to say about how death is not the end. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment.
I'm up for anyone who's think they can challenge what I say.
Yeah, you don't need to agree.
And whatever, please, if you don't agree with anything I say, bring it on and we'll talk about it, and we'll try and keep the ego out.
Address it, yes, and, absolutely.
See where it goes. Because it's not about the answers you get, it's about the questions you ask. And I love people who challenge what I say, and because those challenges bring about the better points. And if you just accept what I say without question, then you should be looking at what I say and analysing everything, filtering everything, and that don't work, that don't fit there, that don't fit there. And then you say, no, well, that don't fit there, that doesn't fit this, it doesn't fit. And then I say, well,
how
this
does
is what
that
I
work?
found.
How does that work?
And then maybe you'll agree, maybe you won't agree.
Because we always talk about from our own experience. And that is the path to enlightenment is paved with questioning. And that brings us to our next talk that will be about enlightenment. We had a few viewers who left questions and wanted us to address enlightenment. Now you will see.
Okay.
We talk. When we make our talks, we always overlap because it all comes down.
Well, we're going to talk about the same things because everything is connected.
That's right.
I've never really agreed with, oh no, you're only allowed to talk about that thing there.
Yes, stay on the subject, stay on them.
That thing there is still connected to the last things we spoke about, or the future things we're going to talk about. Yeah. So that's how I think.
Okay, now we still wish the Queen a happy Jubilee.
Yes, the Queen.
And everybody who are royals, call themselves royals, all congratulations. This hat is disappearing back to a charity shop. That's where it came from. Okay, everybody. See you next time.
Goodbye.
Thank you for watching.
Don't forget the question.
Yes, subscribe. Bye.